Jerry, I hear something.
What's going on?
Oh,
Hey man, I'm having some issue with the audio.
I know. Today is the day of a little bit of technical challenges, but we did it. You know why, Jerry?
Why?
Because we got faith. We got faith. And we got Foxy.
Man.
Faith and Foxy. Theater changes. All right. So, guys, we're here. This is the pod. All right. Now we're going to jump right in because everybody's been waiting for Jerry. So, Jerry, why don't you just take us with the intro? I know it's just the way it is right now, Jerry. You're in demand. So why don't we just get in with the intro? Yeah.
I don't want to keep anybody waiting.
Do it, Jerry. They're waiting. Everybody's waiting. They're waiting for this.
This is the Foxy and Faith podcast, where faith, finance, future, fulfillment, family all merge into one in an enjoyable conversation with your host, Sir Damon of California, Damon Hart, Mr. Foxy, and Sir Jerry Bryson of South Georgia, Mr. Faith, if you will. Damon, it's good to see you, man.
Good to see you too, man. I missed you. It's always around this time of the week for some reason. I don't know. It's crazy. Like, seems like around 9-ish every Wednesday. We seem to find each other here online.
That's right. Weird. Just we happen upon each other.
Yeah.
Every week.
Yeah. By schedule. I mean by chance, right?
By chance.
Yeah.
Of course.
So cool,
it's out
man.
there.
Yeah. So how have you been? Let's get started with the weekend review. What's been new? Tell me.
Do you want the real answer or a fair weather answer?
I only want the real, and I want it short because my answer is going to be short too, because people want to know what we want to talk about this week,
right? Challenges. It's been challenging, blessed, but challenging. How about you?
I would say the same. Challenging, things definitely not going my way. Definitely a lot of no's and some maybes and a couple yeses. And
nice.
But taking it in stride, I guess. I feel like if we don't have the challenges, how else are we going to get where we want to go, right? How else are we?
This is true.
There? Yeah.
This is true.
Yeah.
I heard somebody say something very similar to that today. They were talking about child stars. I can't remember if it was. It may have been a clip of Joe Rogan, but he was just talking about how the child stars, they come into the world under this light of everybody loves you and you can do no wrong and all of this, and so they don't have the pressures that an everyday person has that form their character. So they grow up essentially without any real character underneath what everybody else sees under the limelight. And he was just talking about how unfortunate it was. And if you think about it, that is pretty sad. And as fathers especially, we kind of have the role of being what I call the bad guy, even though we're not the bad guy, right? But sometimes, like in the house, sometimes dad has to put his foot down, and not everybody's going to like that. And even sometimes, mom, she's going to be more sympathetic, and that brings out her nurturing side when dad says no, and it seems really hard and unpleasant in the house. But man, if we don't do that, who's going to do that? 100%. And then one day, exactly, and one day, our kids, they might be having a bad day. And then they get pulled over by an officer who's having a bad day. And that's the wrong time to be spouting off, And so they've got to learn that stuff at home. They've got to learn respect and constancy, all that stuff at home. And sometimes dad has to look like the bad guy to get that across.
For sure.
And that's no fun, but it's necessary.
Yeah. It isn't. It isn't. I can totally relate to that not being fantastic. It's funny. I had a situation like that this week. My wife and I had. It was just kind of like a small disagreement that kind of escalated to something way bigger. It was around just like food, right? And we were just talking about like dinner. She had come back from groceries and we didn't, because I didn't actually tell her exactly what we wanted. So she felt like, hey, now I got to go get more groceries. Plus, I already planned out what we were going to eat. So, so it's like, okay, now how you expect me to fix everything? So it was just a miscommunication.
Sure.
But at the end, what it boiled down to be is, it was just miscommunication. But at the same time, I took it to the point where, you know, mom and I had this kind of face off about who was going to do what, like, you know, and I had to pretty much say like, I'm wrong for this and I'm going to fix it with the food. But I was like, hey, you know, you're still going to fix the food the same way. Like, it's just the way it works, you know? And
Sure.
and it probably didn't come out the way that she wanted to hear it, or maybe I didn't say it the most articulate way. Hey, Parker.
Sure.
But you know, that's how it went. And I think, yeah, you're right. Dad's always, you're not always going to be a nice guy, but you don't want that.
Right.
And maybe think about that. Like, what about that topic? I think isn't there a Bible verse that says like, spare the child, spare the rod, spoil the child? Not spoil,
right.
Spare the child, spoil the rod. It wasn't that one. Right?
Right. You had it right the other way. Yeah. Yeah. There's actually more verses that touch on the same topic. Yep. And, you know, that was something that my wife and I, because, you know, with our firstborn, you know, you have a sensitivity to your first, of course, you know, you've got Kassan, and that's kind of your whole world. And this is the apple of your eye. And this is the first real love like that you've experienced as a father. And so when it comes to disciplining your child, there's always like, am I doing this right? Like, is it supposed to hurt me too when they get in trouble, you know? Right. But you go to the Bible because the Bible doesn't change, right? The Bible, this has been the same for thousands of years, right? And so he says, in one place he says, he that spares the rod or withholds discipline from his son hates his son, right? So it's like the people that they claim some kind of, I don't know, perfect love that the rest of us don't have because we spank our kids or we discipline our kids. They claim to have that love, but really it's just fulfilling some kind of like a self like ideology or something. They're lifting themselves up and they think that what they're doing is best, but it's really just, it's hurting that kid.
Yeah.
But then there's another place that says, chasten thy son while there is hope, and let not chasten thy son while there is hope, and let not your soul spare for his crying. Meaning, when he starts crying, that's not when you stop. Keep going, or don't, like, the next time he gets in trouble, you can't say to yourself, well, the last time I did it, he cried, so I can't do it. I can't bring myself to do it again.
Sure.
He's saying, don't stop there. Sure. You can't stop because of that. But there's more than that. There's more than that. And you get the idea, because they all basically revolve around the same thing. The father that loves his son chastens him often, regularly.
Yeah.
And it goes on, and it goes on.
I can understand.
But it's right.
I can understand that. And, you know, it's like, I mentioned like a week or so ago, you know, I made a couple of decisions to kind of like shrink our team. Mm-hmm. And the thing that was really hard for me is just like, you know, I had, you know, conversations with the team members like, hey, you know, maybe you need to do this, you do that, and what the expectations were. They still just wasn't happening. And then, you know, you get to a point where you're just like, all right, I got to make a decision. And you don't want to hurt the people because you care a tremendous amount about them as individuals. But then you also realize too, like, it just doesn't make sense, right? Mm-hmm. Because you're going to end up hurting yourself. And I don't know about anybody else, but I find that, you know, sometimes we feel that guilt or we feel that remorse because we don't want to hurt the people that we love. We don't want to hurt our sons,
absolutely,
you know, our sons, daughters, you know, but those things the pain is necessary because what does it do? It invokes some change.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Without the pain, you're not going to do anything.
Right.
Hey, Megan. Yeah.
And it's you know, it's one of those things where you kind of have to, and I think it's supposed to, I really kind of soul search, sometimes before, sometimes after, hardly ever during, especially if it's in the heat of a moment, or like, and I talked about this Sunday at church. It's like sometimes you put it off, you put off the discipline, and you put it off and you put it off because you're hoping that your words and your influence will just get to them. And they're like, oh, you know what? Dad's serious this time, or mom's serious this time. But what they don't realize, if they don't stop the direction that they're going in and turn back and go the right way, that all of those times that we let them get by with it, that's going to build up to one big time. And so we're all like that, and it's like that in the Bible too. But one thing that this does, and this goes kind of back to what we started talking about, all of this for the child develops character, and it also develops character for the parents. And just like when husbands and wives, when we have arguments with our spouses, that develops character in our relationship, and we have growth, like genuine, actual growth in our
Yeah.
marriages. And it's the people who refuse to fight. Those are the ones that I'm concerned about. And when I say fight, you know what I mean, like a healthy interaction of disagreement. Like, you can get mad and you haven't done really anything wrong, but if you shut down and you're like, if you shut down to the point to where you refuse to let the person say what they need to say, or you refuse to let yourself have an interaction with your spouse,
Right.
that's unhealthy. And that's not the same thing as, oh, I need 5 minutes. I'm going to go you just hold that thought. Give me 5 minutes. I'm going to take a walk around the block. I'll come back. That's not the same thing. Shutting down is like shutting the person out. You're not allowed to do that. I mean, not according to the Bible. You're not allowed to do that.
Yeah. Well, I would, that's the beautiful part about our show, right? It's like, like you have the word of God and the scripture behind you, and it's like these the principles. He breaks it up, and like I feel like my approach to faith has been for a while that I grew up in the church. I understood kind of the stuff, but it's like I think some of these things, aside from the institution of what the church is, it's like some of these things are kind of common practice, and they can be really useful.
Absolutely.
And they I believe they transcend a lot of different categories. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like,
Sure.
like, yeah, it's good practice. Do unto others. Like, that can't get old ever. Like that.
Absolutely.
That's one that's just timeless.
Absolutely.
That's one that's
and see, and the pressure comes in. I'm so thankful that we live. It's like it's a double-edged sword. We've got the internet, and you and I can have this conversation in front of other people all over the world in real time, and it's awesome, right? Because there's good information that's happening. There's an exchange of ideas. Even if we disagree on something, we can do it, respectfully. And we've got people like, Ben Shapiro. We've got people like just some of these voices, even Jordan Peterson. Amen. Even oh my goodness, even Bill Maher. Lately, he's not somebody that I'm a big fan of, but because he recognizes that things are going just absolutely insane, even his voice that is still to the left of center, he still has some reason. And so I'm glad that reason can get out there, but for someone like Bill Maher, he runs into a problem if he doesn't put any value in the Bible, because the Bible is going to stay the same 50 years from now, 100 years from now, 200 years from now, right? Just like it has. Right. And so these things that you're saying that are like kind of common sense, and they should be common practice. But I had a buddy of mine tell me the day, there's a school in Kentucky that he knows about firsthand. They have kitty litter boxes in the school for students who think they're cats. So.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So what I would like to take for granted as common sense.
Wow. Yeah.
May indeed be some.
Okay, so this is the topic, right? This is the topic, right? I think it's a perfect segue. And we're only going to be on here maybe another 15 minutes or so. So let's make it juicy. When we talk about like, gender and being able to select what gender and so on. I'm going to ask your opinion. And I'm also going to ask anyone else that wants to chime in the comments or whatever. But,
great.
I mean, are we for real as a society, really? Like, I'm just asking the question. Are we for real as a society that there can be, I think the number thrown around was like 31-ish, genders or gender or identities. Are we really there as a society that people believe that's like a real thing? I'm just curious. Hey, what's up, Shannon?
So, when we're kids, what do they tell you? If you can think it, you can do it. You can be whatever you
Sure.
want to be, right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, and there are people that make a really nice living pretending to be whatever they want to be, right?
Sure.
And how far somebody wants to take that in make believe land and pretend or whatever. You've heard of Andy Kaufman, how far he took pretending and all that stuff. That's it's a free country, but when you start saying, okay, I am opposite or I am something I'm making up as opposed to what I was born as, and you must refer to me as such. It's like, wait a second. Now you're trespassing. You're trespassing on one reality, but two, there is we have to. I mean, I think they really don't understand what's at stake.
No, and
If you live,
I agree.
Go
I
ahead.
think I know where you're going with this, and I would agree.
Yeah.
But I think most people don't know. Most of us aren't really aware of what's going on at a global view. We're more right in front of our faces, right? But
Sure.
I would agree with you a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree with you mostly and disagree. Here's where I agree. I agree in the point that people can be whatever you want. You should be able to be whatever you want at any point. And I agree with you that it's a slippery slope when we have, let's say, agencies or government or a group of people determining what's socially acceptable and what isn't, in terms of policy. Okay. The challenge that I think is, I think where the disagreement comes in is like, I don't think it's wrong that people feel that way, or it's whatever. It's even like it's even problematic. I think people probably have been thinking like that for a long time. I don't think we can stop anyone from doing it that way either. But here's what I am saying. I don't think this is a thing. I don't think we should even be talking about this, to be honest, because no one really cares. Honestly, aside from the fact that we could, it's police and speech, I don't think anyone cares. If you want to be 31 flavors, you could be. We could all. Everyone's been doing whatever they wanted since the beginning of time. No one said anything. So go ahead, do that. Be that. Do whatever you want, right? But it's when you start saying, then you have to accept. For me personally, I can't remember all 31. I heard my nieces in school, they have all these different. I'm not gonna remember, and I can't identify. Talk about gender identity. It will be difficult for me to identify your gender because I'm not remembering all 31. Call me old or 32. Call me old. I'm just not going to be able to do it. And and I just don't think this is as big of a deal. And outside of the stuff that you just talked about, personally.
Yeah. So, like I said, like if like a little kid can go to school and be like, I want to be a tree today. And it's like, okay, be a tree, pretend to be a leaf on a tree or whatever in your own imagination, as long as you're grounded in reality, right? Just like from a person to a person, okay? Not legal, just from a person to a person. I've worked with, I remember I worked with somebody, I don't know if they had any kind of a surgery like that, but they were clearly a man dressed as a female name. They called themselves Janice or whatever the case was. And it's like, okay, I'm just going to be respectful and nice to you. I'm not going to call you sir. I'm not going to be mean to you or anything like that. But as long as we both are in touch with the same reality, as long as they know I am a man dressed up as a woman, it's like, okay, so we can walk along together in the same reality. Okay. But if they're really, if they really think that they're a woman, but they are a man, that is a delusion. That is not the same thing as somebody who's pretending, right?
For sure.
And so at a distance, like if somebody, all of the people that live like that I'll never know about, I'm not there to hear that tree fall in the woods, right? So I don't really have, I don't have an issue. But what I do know is this: the level of, if you want to call it I don't want to say corruption because that sounds like a political term, but the more decay that the nuclear family experiences in any society, that puts that society on the downward trend,
On a
right?
slippery slope.
And so, right. So if you just had like back in the day when somebody was homosexual, right? Or a guy dressed up as a girl, it was like funny. It was because it was so out of the ordinary. It was like, I was like, oh, that guy's dressed like a girl. That's so funny. Why would they do that? But now it's like it is, and I wouldn't even say it's so prominent, but my wife and my kids, we had stopped at a Panera Bread,
Okay.
and there was a grown man dressed like a woman.
Sure.
Like he was wearing a dress. He had lipstick.
Sure.
He had earrings. He was decorating himself as a woman.
Sure.
And it wasn't a joke. And my kids are like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "You have no idea what's wrong on how many different levels what that person is experiencing." And it could be things like trauma, right? It could be trauma. It could be bad things that have happened to them, and this is how it's
100%,
manifesting.
100%. But can I jump in? Can I just say this?
Sure.
Can I just say
Sure.
this? Like in my, and this is just my eyes, and that's why we're both to the side. I personally think, yeah, there is something that's kind of manifested, and something may be different. I personally don't. I just say it's your choice. Like, I wouldn't say anything is necessarily wrong, bro. That's your choice. That's what you choose. How you choose to flow. And this is just my opinion. Like, this is how you choose to flow. This is what it is. Now, is it right for me? No. Is it right for, for something that I would probably, like I would myself, would I go out and say like, hey, I'm going to wear a dress, and it's not right for me. I think that's the great thing about America is choice. And I think what we're kind of both arguing is that inside of the whole gender thing is the kind of like, you use the same term. It's not, you don't want to say corruption, but it seems like an agenda. The agenda behind it is like, hey, now you have to identify this person as this because they say so. And I think that's that's not fair, because then you can start doing that with a lot of other things. You can start saying, you shouldn't be saying that about the president, which in the United States, last time I checked, you can say junk about Obama, Trump, Bush, Clinton. You can say junk about anybody. Biden, you can say whatever you want. And we don't go to jail. We can say whatever we want. And I think it's a beautiful thing about America. And people can disagree. And people can be like, you know what? I don't mind if you dress up like a girl. It's not for me. I probably don't like it if that's my choice. But guess what? I'm not going to bother you. It's only when you tell me I have to call you something. That's where it's weird. Right. And it is different. Like, okay, so, and you could make the argument, you could ask the question, is it good for America? Right? It's like, which so part? So we celebrate the fact that we all have choices, right? But there's this idea, I think, that, like, especially for people who live in a city, like a big city, right? You can do whatever you want because you're protected. You get all this pavement, all this concrete, there's all this security and authority, and there's all these people, right? And you're just one. You're just one out of millions, right? Right. But who is absorbing? Let's just say it's wrong. Let's just take any act, anything you can think of, whether it's morally wrong, illegally wrong, unethical, whatever. What is absorbing the blow? Where does it go? If I do something that's wrong, morally wrong, who does that affect around me? Well, let's say, God forbid, all right, when somebody has an affair, it affects everybody in that community, right? Everybody that finds out about it, like, has some kind of experience, and it's almost like there's some kind of weird door that opens, and it's like, oh man, like, that's out there, and it hit close to home. Like, that could get on me. Like, that could have an impact on me. But that's how it is. It's like you get all these people that are just making these decisions as if there are no consequences, and it's like, well, is that really good? And there is a question,
how far do you take morality? Well, it's still a prosecutable offense, or at least in a marriage relationship, if somebody has an affair, right?
Sure.
The offender, that doesn't work out favorably for them, right? Um, the things that used to be, from what I understand, the things that used to be illegal in the country are not illegal anymore. And like you have no fault, is it called no fault divorce? You
No
just go
fault
and file
divorce.
three.
I heard about
It's
this.
like,
Yeah. Hey,
it's like
Mike.
$300. You just $300 and then you're out. And it's like, why? Why
Hey,
would our
Lord.
government? Why would our government allow for that to take place? That's a travesty. I mean, and I'm not saying that everybody that's ever been divorced is wrong, or that
Sure.
every situation is. I'm
Sure.
not saying that at all. It's not a
Right.
blanket
Yeah,
thing.
we're not generalizing for
Not
sure.
not not trying to just blanket everything, but
Yeah.
um, all actions, no matter how small they are, they have repercussions. And so the the man that thinks, you know what, I've been underrated my entire life. Girls ignored me in high school. I never scored very well. I wasn't athletic. I was never the star of anything. I'm going to be the star today. I'm going to be a girl, right? And I'm going to come out, and everybody's going to give me all this adoration. Everybody's going to build up my ego, or whatever the case is, right? And they go out. What seeds are they planting? What seeds are they spreading out? Is it good seeds, or is it bad seeds? Does it promote the family in the country to be
Yeah.
stronger, or does it
Yeah.
actually cause people to want to break apart and do their own thing, and then set themselves and their happiness up as the highest form
As the
of,
highest
like,
priority.
this is as the
Yeah.
highest priority?
Yeah. I can see that. I can see that 100%. Yeah. And I don't know necessarily if the combo here was like to figure out like the solution, right? Necessarily.
Sure.
But
Right, right,
right, because it's a
right.
loaded question. But the one thing that I think that I can that I want to push forward
Sure.
in the conversation is like if we're not careful, because
Hmm.
words are powerful.
They are.
Words create worlds, right?
Oh,
Speak
absolutely.
speak into existence.
Mm.
I think we got to be mindful of like protecting the things that we have that are sacred, and I think
Hmm.
one of those is speech. Like, yeah, you
Hmm.
can totally say, hey, this person should be that, or I want to be recognized as this, but it's also someone's choice to say, you know what,
Hmm.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Even inside of the protection that we have, like, I don't want to do that. I don't agree, because I think
Hmm.
if we can get on that place where we can have that, I guess, discourse or discord, whatever the term is, like we can go back and forth and just say whatever. That gives people the freedom to be, to be in a civilization where you can say whatever.
Sure.
I think what you and I are trying to say is when you
Hmm.
start to make it not a local thing, but more like a
Hmm.
national thing, and
Hmm.
they get to say what's what. That's
Hmm.
that's a little tricky,
Sure.
because I think most
Sure.
people out there, not for nothing, most people don't want, and this is just my generalization, I don't think most people want, like men going into women's bathrooms and vice versa. I don't think people want that,
No.
but
No.
when we choose it as a legal matter, and then talk about human rights, that's when it gets weird. And that's not coming from
Right.
one or two people. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
that's where I think part of the decay, that's
Hmm.
where we have the most potential issue. I
Sure.
think that's where it's going to come from, and
Right. And
we got to be mindful.
because that raises that specific scenario. It raises the concern of safety, right? The safety
Totally.
of the women that are in that bathroom. Because I've
100%.
never, I've never, and we used to live in Florida. I've never seen a female transgender, or whatever you want to call it. I've never seen a female go into a man's bathroom and use a urinal. Never seen that. But it apparently is in a higher demand for a man to go into a woman's bathroom. I wonder why. Right?
Yeah,
Predator. It's a predatory
it's
thing,
a
right?
concern thing physically, because I would
Absolutely.
share with my daughter and I don't have a daughter. Yeah, of
Right. Right.
course.
And I wouldn't either. I wouldn't. Well, I wouldn't want my wife. I wouldn't want my sons in the same in that situation where their safety could be compromised. Did you ever see the movie The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo?
No, don't know that.
It's actually it's a good movie. It's a good movie, but
Okay.
there's a part of the movie where the protagonist, the good guy, he is confronted when he realizes he figures out who the serial killer is, right?
Okay.
And he's kind of face to face with the serial killer, but he hasn't busted him yet. So the serial killer is like, "Hey, why don't you come to my house and hang out with me for a few minutes?" And the protagonist is trying to find a way to get out of the situation, but he couldn't. So he ends up in the guy's lair, and the guy is pointing out this fact. He said, "For the sake of hurting my feelings, you knowingly went into my home because you didn't want to hurt my feelings." And it's like, at some point, we have to call timeout on the freak show. We have to call timeout on everybody's feelings and say, stop, just stop. Everybody shut up. My kid's not going in there with that guy, okay?
Yeah.
Or that guy's not going in there with my kid, right? At some point, the whole circus has to stop. And everybody's feelings and whatever cloud they're on, we all have to just stop and say, there is a matter that's more important than your feelings, and it's my child's safety or my wife's safety. And so it's an issue.
Yeah.
It can be an issue.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it is. And I don't know. It's usually with our topics here, if this is your first time watching, right? Usually our topics are those that tend to flow out because obviously we're dads and we care. We talk about things like business, obviously faith, and these things all are interchangeable. And I think the sentiment you're gonna get here from both of us always is like we don't 100% know the answer, but we feel pretty confident that we could steer the ship right. And I don't think we're the only ones, because there are a lot of guys out there that want to just do the right things for their family. I wake up every single day. I don't wake up by myself. I wake up to take care of my wife, my son, and my mom, my sisters, to be there for them, my dad, to get encouragement from him. I do that every day. And I think there are a lot of guys just like us that just are doing the same thing. So it's how can we, create this community, this space to give them that encouragement. That's why we're here. That's really it. That's how this thing was born. So
that's right.
Awesome. So look,
awesome,
Jerry, it is that time, right? Because we're wrapping up. We used to do an hour when it was just me and you, right? But now we're starting to shave it back a little bit. What do you think for next week? We get a guest. I think we have a good potential to get our first on interview guest. What do you think? Do you think
that'd be exciting?
Okay, so I think we have a few visitors here today.
Excellent.
I know Leslie's on here. We got Jenny. Hey Jenny Tucker, how are you?
Hey.
Wayne. Yeah, Wayne, what's up, brother? Mike, I know Mike. I haven't talked to you in a while. So for anybody that's here on this this quick little live, we have the same event every Wednesday, same time at 9 is our start. We last for about 30 minutes. We want to have our first guest, and it should be just someone that you highly regard, that you think is a great, guy, someone in your family or someone that you know personally would really enjoy talking about faith, finance, anything related to family. We would love to have them on. So if you would, just drop a comment in low and tag that person below here. We'd love to have them on. And in the meantime, I want to just say Jerry and I really love Mike Reed. Mike Reed, boom. Just tag us, Paul, with Mike Reed's info so we can get him. That'd be awesome. And we would love, Jerry knows Mike Reed maybe. All right, cool. We would love to just have you guys come on next week and just be be present with us. And we really appreciate you taking the time here, because there's a lot of stuff going on in the world, but we're glad that you at least took a few minutes out to hang out with us. So we're stoked. Okay. So absolutely. With that being said, I would like to turn it over to my co-host here, Sir Jerry, to take us home. And we usually do things with a little bit of a prayer. Okay, so
That's
if
right.
this is your
That's right.
time, you want to just get a little blessing, just stay on for a little bit. And if not, if you don't, we'll still bless you anyway on the way out. Okay. So,
That's right.
Jerry, would you take us away?
My pleasure. Heavenly Father, we just are so thankful for all that you've blessed us with, our families, our health, our friends, our church. Lord, first and foremost, the gift of salvation. And Lord, that's what we pray for all those that are watching or listening or watching after the fact. God, that you would bless them and their families with the gift of salvation through your Son, Jesus Christ. Help us, Lord, to walk in a way that's pleasing to you and help us to be a light to this world. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Hey,
Appreciate you, brother.
always the same, man. Love you. So, with that
Me
being
too, man.
said, we're going to say, hey, for next time, you know what to do. That's right. You're going to keep it foxy and you're going to keep it
Faithful.
till the next one. Bye for now,
See ya.
guys.